I'm not worth it. Stop living. These are lies. Guys, welcome back into the channel. As always, your host here, Clinton Yoder.
And I'm Cory McClendon.
And we are excited to get this episode kicked off today. We got a good one today, Cory. I'm going to let you just jump right on in. Let's do this thing.
Hey, listen, have you ever been in a situation or decision that, you think, man, I'm second guessing every single thing to make this decision?
Every day.
So today we're going to talk about self-consciousness in our leadership and how that is the cap that is really limiting our leadership potential. And so we've got we want to discuss what it is, how it affects our team, and just kind of how we can overcome that and start leading with a purpose. This whole thing comes from, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a story this week. For me personally, I went through kind of a stretch for about 2 or 3 days of, I'm talking being what you call a full self-conscious leader, and to the point of a little bit of a spiral. And I haven't even shared a lot of this with Cory, but it was just everything I did I felt like wasn't the right move, and it was just things kept coming at me. I felt like I had a storm cloud around me, and from every direction, and every decision I made was the wrong decision, and it truly will paralyze you as a leader. Yeah. It'll paralyze you to a point that there is no way that you can lead with a purpose with that mindset. Well, the creative or the Center for Creative Leadership says 75% of managers deal with this every day. So they say that the lack of self-confidence is a top barrier for their effectiveness. And so it's something that everybody's going to go through at one point of your leadership journey. And so what we wanted to do today is come on here, tell you our stories, what we've dealt with, and how we've overcome it, and start leading with a purpose.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where if you say that you don't deal with this, I'm just going to say it like it is. You're a liar, because every leader out there at some point of their leadership deals with this, and it's I said it earlier, it's paralyzing, fully paralyzing. You will not. It's the cap. It's the lid on your leadership. But the awesome thing is there is a way through it. There is a way through it, and so we're gonna dive on into that. So
so let's define it real quick. So leading, being a self-conscious leader is leading from a place of fear, insecurity, and self-doubt rather than with purpose and vision. And so it's something, I know we could talk and tell 15,000 stories of us being in that same place. I know I personally think right now I'm thinking of, endless stories of where I've had this fear of getting it wrong and perfectionism and insecurity, and I don't have what it takes. And that's the language in our mind that we speak to ourselves, is when we're in those moments, to help you identify if you're in that moment, your thoughts begin to be, do I have what it takes? Am I good enough? Can I do this? And the problem with those thoughts is what you think oftentimes comes out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of times as a leader, you'll think you're hiding it, but your team knows you better than what you realize.
Oh yeah,
and they feel it, and before you know it, they start to spiral down that same path of self-consciousness. Yep. Why is he feeling the way he is? Oh, it's because maybe I'm not doing my job, and he sees I'm not doing my job correctly. Oh man, I'm not doing my job correctly. And all of a sudden you have this spiral happen through your organization, and it started at the top by you just not dealing with it. And that's the thing. This self-consciousness has to be dealt with. Before we started this recording, we had a conversation between me and Cory, and we'll share that just a little bit. Sales are down. Sales are down in an organization, and Cory is one of the sales managers at Yoder Meadow, as you know, and there was a conversation that he had this morning with his leader that kind of put Cory a little bit into a state of self-consciousness.
Yep.
But the one of the keys to the step forward in that is talking about it.
Yeah.
Being open about it, and being open with your feelings to the team, to your leader, to whatever of what you're feeling there. And because man, the thing is, we all faced troubling times, slow times, and things like that in organizations, and we quickly blame ourselves, which I think a good leader looks at himself first and says, okay, is there something that I could change, something I can do? So, but that's different than what we're talking about in self-consciousness. Self-consciousness is where we're saying that it's on us. We are not good enough ourselves. It is our fault, solely our fault, why this is happening or that's happening.
Yeah. There's two sides of the coin. We always want to be self-aware to our deficits.
Absolutely. Agreed.
In our leadership so that we can grow, but it's when it becomes the negative thoughts, the negative things of, hey, I'm not good enough, I'm not. The fact is, if you're in a leadership spot, it actually talks in Romans in the Bible that every leader is appointed by God. So you are in your spot for a reason, and God didn't place you there because you're not supposed to be there. I think you're there for a reason.
Romans 13 talks about that some as well, about all the authority is given by God. That's leadership.
Yep.
So
but I do think you made a great point that we do have to be self-aware of what we have to do, what we have to grow, our growth areas. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about when you have this paralyzing fear that I'm not good enough, I can't do this, things like that. So
there's a quote that says, you either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. Yeah. I mean, that's so true.
Yep.
You're one place or another. There's not a middle ground, really. It's I just this here is so dear to me and so hits home so much for me that I've struggled with this a lot in my life. I feel like I'm not worthy of the position God has given me a lot of times.
Yeah.
And but it's like you said, I mean, he puts people in positions to lead. So
So self-conscious leadership keeps the leader small. It makes you too afraid to take the risk. You're focused on protecting what you have. It's all, you have to think of self-conscious leader if it's the leader starts focusing on themselves and they're looking inward, and it's that way. So I guess the next part I want to go with is why this happens in your leadership, and I think there's a couple key areas that this happens. First of all, it's fear of failure, and that's so big in everyone, because we're in a culture now that says failure is just bad. There's no good that comes out of failure, and that's it's just not true. There's so many lessons that you can learn out of failure. Leaders worry about that the mistakes will make them look incompetent. And we all want to be knowledgeable now. We think that leadership means that you know every aspect of the given area you have leadership over. That's not true. If it was true, I would know every single thing more than my guys that are under me in metal, and that's not true. I've got very talented salesmen that report to me, and they know more about certain things than I do, and that's okay.
Yeah, I had a great businessman tell me this. He said, if you want to be an amazing leader, make sure that everybody under you knows more about what they're doing than you do. Make sure that you're the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that don't make much sense. But what he's trying to get at is a great leader identifies his weaknesses. He knows the things that he's not good at, and then he brings people in to help him, guide him through those things that he doesn't understand as well as they do.
Yeah.
So and I think that's one other thing I like to say to add to this whole thing. We want people to like us.
Yeah.
But the fact is, Greg Rochelle says this: you can't lead people if you need them to like you. Like, what that means is of course, we're going to lead things in a way of, the right way. But if you do it only for people to like you, you're a self-conscious leader.
Yeah.
100% a self-conscious leader. Because there's going to be decisions you have to make as a leader that not everybody's going to like.
Yep.
And if you're so self-conscious, you will never take a step in. You will never answer those go through those things because, but so and so won't like me. Yeah. That's self-consciousness.
Yeah,
it's at its highest.
You won't take the risk.
That's right. Absolutely. You won't.
And the second thing that I see, and this is the one I struggle with, is perfectionism. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get in this spot where I've got to make things so perfect on rolling out a decision or something like that you sit there and you're like, oh, it's not ready, and you don't make a decision. You stop. Mm-hmm. And that's not leadership. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going to have to move forward with something and tweak it as it goes, but it's the appearance that you're flawless leads to overthinking and hesitation. Mm-hmm. And we can't hesitate as a leader. You got to make decisions, you got to go, and you got to move. But that's the one I do. And the next one, comparison, measuring yourself against others' strengths rather than their own progress. And man, if we don't have a culture of comparison,
it's everywhere. It's to me, it's the downfall of a civilization. You could say just about in a way, because what we have to understand that God has created a world where we need everybody. We need every personality that's out there. Mm-hmm. There's people that do things completely different than me, think completely in a different way than I do, but that is necessary for the function of the world.
Yeah.
But we sit here in this bubble, this social media bubble, this world that NBA player, man, I want to be like him. I want to be like Shaq O'Neal, or Shaq.
Yeah.
I can't be like Shaq. I can't dunk.
Yeah.
I can't do what he does. He's and I'm over here doing this. Corey, you lead in a different way than I do.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's good. But we live in this thing that if I'm not exactly like someone else, then I'm not worth it.
Yeah. Well, I think back to what for us, like John Maxwell mm-hmm. is a great leadership teacher,
yes.
and we probably both of us admire him.
Absolutely.
And how he goes about things. And so it's really easy to think, well, I'm comparing myself to John Maxwell, Mm-hmm. And the thing is, first of all, he's 70-something now.
Yep.
We're both I'm 32.
32, yep.
Yeah.
I got a birthday coming up in 2 weeks.
And then I have one right after you.
Right after. We're both in June, right?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
We accept all gifts for a birthday.
June 16th over here.
Yeah, 23rd.
23rd. Yep. So I'm older than him. I got like a week more wisdom than he does.
That's a big gap of wisdom. That week was but anyway, so we compare ourselves even though he's further along in his journey.
Like by
40 years.
40 years.
And so that's one of my favorite quotes. Theodore Roosevelt says that comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, that's so true, though.
I love Teddy Roosevelt, first of all. What a great president. A man's man. That's what I like about him. But it's so true that comparison is the thief of joy. And we sit here and we look on Facebook and we look on Instagram and everything, and we see people's highlights mm-hmm. of their day. And the reason I bring John Maxwell up, when we were at the summit, he says, everybody wants to do what I do, but no one wants to do what I did.
Yes.
And so that's the thing. There are things that are happening behind the scenes that you don't see in people's lives that you may be doing better. Yep. It's just your highlights are not exactly what their highlights are, and you compare yourself to them.
And the crazy thing is, wherever you are in your leadership, there is someone that's looking up and saying, man, mm-hmm. I wish I was like him.
Yeah.
and you're sitting there saying, man, I wish I was like him.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Stop that. Let's as leaders put that in. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that mindset, because we are all in a different place on our journey.
Yeah.
But we're all on the same journey.
Yep.
We all go through things. We all go face things. Wednesday, I think it was, of this week, we'll be a little vulnerable here. I had a coach call, and I cried like a little baby.
Yeah.
You know, but that's behind the scenes. Nobody sees that. Nobody knows that that I was crying like a little baby. All they see is a podcast from the outside world, and there's probably people that think, man, I just wish I could have a podcast about leadership, right? Behind the scenes, I'm broken just like everybody else.
Yep.
You know, we put this, in a way, we put this face on when we come on this podcast to a point. I mean, we try to be very vulnerable and up forward with what we're facing and things like that. But still, there's
a natural projection.
Correct, yes. And people are only seeing those things. But if you'd have seen me in my office Wednesday about 1 o'clock, you'd have been like, what is wrong with him?
If you'd have saw me about an hour ago, you would have been like, dude, what is this dude doing?
Right. That's because we're human.
Yeah.
We're human, and we face things. We have struggles, but that comparison thing will bury you.
Yeah.
It will bury you. It'll destroy you. So let's quit comparing our leadership. You are leading well. You are right where you should be. Just continue. The key to it all is growth. The key to it all is not staying at the same place. Okay, I'm struggling in this area, so I'm going to go learn. I'm going to go figure out how to overcome this, so that the next time I face this same thing, I have, you could say, a arsenal of something to fight back against that thing. And next thing you know, that becomes not so big of a deal.
Yeah.
But guess what happens?
You got another struggle.
There's another struggle coming. And it's a journey, and that's why John Maxwell says, the climb is always up.
Yep.
Climb is always up. And so just let's stop comparing ourselves when it comes to our leadership.
Yeah, the last thing I want to focus on why this happens is the lack of experience or confidence. And every leader's been here before. We step into an arena that we don't have the best experience on, or we don't have confidence in, and it often feels like we're awkward.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what it shows up as sometimes, is when you don't have experience, you don't have confidence in something, you feel awkward, and everything in your body is telling you, I don't need to do this. And that's all awkwardness and anxiety is your body trying to preserve your being, is saying, ooh, we don't like this, we don't want to do it anymore, but press through that because you're there for a reason. So leaders in new roles often feel insecure because they don't have the experience, they don't know the team. Mm-hmm. You've just got to fight through that and understand that you don't have to have the best experience. You don't have to have the best confidence in it. Being vulnerable is so key in leadership. If you are vulnerable with your team and say, hey, listen, I don't have the best experience of this, and lean into them, man, you're gonna be so far down the line.
And the thing is, a lot of us sit here and we have questions, and we're like, man, I don't understand this. I don't know how to do this. I don't get this. But we're afraid to ask the question. Mm-hmm. I heard something like this before. It says that if you don't know something, let me think of the quote exactly how it goes. It was, if you think you're dumb, then start asking questions, and you won't be dumb. Mm-hmm. I know that's kind of, it's extremely simple, but the truth is we're buried in this sense of insecurity to ask the questions that we don't know, and in our mind we're thinking we should just know this.
Yeah.
How do they know that? We should just know this. But the fact is, there was a time in their life they didn't know that, but they asked the question.
Yeah. 100%.
So be willing, be vulnerable enough to ask the question and say, let's say it's an accounting leader. I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand cash flow reports.
Yeah.
I don't get them. Can you help me understand how to read this cash flow report? But we sit here and we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna act like I know about this. And most times what ends up happening, you look dumber.
Yeah, they'll fake it till you make it.
You know, and that quote, that fake it till it make it thing has gotten out of kilter a little, because the fact is, there is a side of that.
Yeah.
But I don't like that, the way that comes across anymore. I feel like we need to start saying more, you know, to make it.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask the question.
Ask the questions. We live in a world that, again, we've created this mindset that you should just know it all, and you're an idiot if you don't.
Yeah.
So let's fake it till it make it. I know why the quote was designed and what it was about. It was more about, you know, just powering through.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you get through it. But let's start being vulnerable and asking questions when we don't know, and I believe that will help with self-confidence in a big way. Big way. So.
Well, before we jump into how this affects and your leadership and how it caps it, let's hear a word from one of our amazing sponsors.
Guys, we got to talk to you about strokes gained hydration. Because let's be real, most of us don't drink enough water, and when we do, it's usually missing the electrolytes we actually need.
Exactly. Strokes Gained is designed to keep you hydrated the right way, with the perfect balance of electrolytes, no unnecessary sugars, and clean ingredients that help you feel and perform your best, whether you're out on the course, at the gym, or just tackling a busy day.
We've been using it, and the difference is unreal. Better energy, better focus, no midday crashes. If you want to stay on top of your game, check them out at strokesgained.com, strokesgained.com, and use code Yoders Talk for an exclusive discount.
Hydrate smarter, feel better, and keep winning your day with Strokes Gained. All right, Clinton. Well, the next thing is, let's talk about how this is capping our leadership potential. So first and foremost, if you're a self-conscious leader, here's what's happening inside of your team. Being self-conscious oftentimes stifles creativity. There's a research study that says that organizations with risk-adverse leadership are 45% less likely to innovate successfully. And so when you're self-conscious, you avoid new ideas and taking a risk. And so that is killing any ability for your team to come up with a new way of doing things, be able to adjust and pivot to different ideas or different ways of going about something. Is we don't feel. So the feeling that happens is, ooh, I can't go out on this limb because if the limb cracks, then I'm gonna fall. And you can't be like that. You gotta keep moving.
There's a side of me that I see that too many times in my leadership where I want to take the safe route. I want to protect. It's the protection mindset, but it's done in the wrong way. Risk is key to innovation. You got to understand, taking a risk. Look at Jeff Bezos and Amazon. You know, he took a risk. He stepped out, and look where Amazon is today.
Yep. I
know that's a big risk. That's a you know, something that's on a high level. But you know, talking about small things, even the smallest things in your company, when it comes to making a new hire to lead something, or to, you know, I just don't know if we should make that hire. I don't know if payroll can support it. You know, little things like that. Man, take a step. There's a gentleman that's no longer with us. He's passed on, but he told me this. He's a great business mind. He said that when things don't seem to be going right, change is necessary. The thing that will kill you as an organization, as a leader, is when change is necessary and you don't take that step. He said, the fact is, you may change and be wrong. But he said, If you don't change, you know you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you change and it's not right, change again.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to hit a home run.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to hit a home. But he said it starts 100% by change, by taking that risk and saying, no, I'm going to, we're going to risk this. We're going to risk that, risk that. We're going to do this. And eventually you hit a home run.
Yeah.
Don't stay in the fog of failure and think that you're going to come out of it.
Yeah. I was thinking when you said hiring, one of our, it's a failure. We hired a person, it didn't work out, and it failed. But what came out of that failure was we got a better hiring process.
Oh, that big time.
And so that there's oftentimes we're like, oh gosh, this may fall flat on his face, but there's something that's supposed to come out of that failure. So take the risk. Paralyze the next thing, and I was
going to say this, that your calling is too great to be held hostage by your insecurity.
So good. The next thing is, and this is, man, I'm here at times. I know friends that are here at times. Paralyzing decision making. So leaders overthink every step and instead of acting decisively. And so it's that what do we call it? The analysis paralysis. And we got to get every little detail figured out, and it kills our team because you got guys that are sitting there going, or guys and girls going, golly, just make a decision.
Yeah. It's ready, or ready.
Yeah.
Or you could say ready, aim, aim.
Yeah.
And there's no fire.
Yeah, there's no shoot. Yeah.
It needs to be ready, aim, fire.
Yeah.
Ready, aim, fire. And stop sitting in the aiming process and trying to make sure. The fact is the target sometimes is bigger than what you think in your scope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you would just pull the trigger, you'd actually hit. I guess what you're not doing when you don't pull the trigger, you're not hitting nothing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And so I know I do this sometimes, because I came out of a culture that it was more of a shoot, ready, aim.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have to tell myself, hey, eventually we're going to have to pull that trigger, so let's pull it, and let's go. So I know I deal with this a ton. Another way that self-leadership or self-conscious leadership caps potential is it prevents delegation. Leaders, oftentimes, if you're a self-conscious leader, you feel like you have to have your whole hands around a situation, and you feel like I've got to be in control of all of this. And so what happens is you say, well, I can't delegate this because I can't trust anyone to take a piece of this away from me. And all you're doing is breaking trust with your team. They feel like you don't think they're up to the task, and you're building a self-conscious leader underneath you.
Yes.
So I think that's a huge thing. You gotta let things go, and gotta release control to your team.
A self-conscious leader, a lot of times will go talking about the delegation thing. They tend to be extremely. I like to call it the chokehold. They someone that doesn't delegate well literally chokes the life out of their organization. And what happens, it squeezes tighter and tighter and tighter until you ever have that there's these little balls that have this gel stuff in them, and you squeeze them, and all of a sudden
ball, baby.
and all of a sudden it'll like pop out, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
So imagine that as an organization and a leader that is self-conscious and doesn't delegate at all. He's all micromanaged at a level that's unreal. A lot of times what happens, imagine that, and you squeeze that, and all of a sudden that pops out. You know what that is in an organization? That's people leaving.
Yeah.
That's people getting out of here because they don't feel that they're not bringing any value.
Yeah.
They're not bringing any value to the organization. And eventually, you literally squeeze the breath out of them until they get to a point that they go somewhere else where they feel valued, where they feel important, where their abilities and their God-given gifts are put to use.
Yeah.
And that's why we call it creating ownership within our organization. We want our team to own their departments, to own their job, to own what they do, and make decisions. We want to teach them and show them examples of how to do it. That's why we have core values. Why we have all the you could say the barriers on each side of the road to keep us in line. And if decisions are made within those lines, go for it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make that happen. That's real delegation. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not checking in.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you don't check in and make sure that things are going the way that you down the right path you want them to. But make sure you're not a leader that is micromanaged at a point that you're choking the breath out of your organization.
Yeah.
So
you got to hold it. If you've ever seen, here's a great image. Have you ever seen a toddler hold a cat? Okay. Don't hold your team like a cat as a toddler. Them toddlers like to squeeze them cats a little too much,
eventually
you're gonna get scratched.
Yeah.
It ends up with delegation. Like I said, ends up hurting the team trust because teams sense the insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
They sense that either they're being held back or they lose confidence in the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something you gotta be able to sense and tell with your team. And then the last thing that it ends up doing, you're just going to be burned out.
Oh yeah.
And that's just a fact. You're going to be burned out as a leader. Constant worrying and overthinking will drain you. You can do it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But
eventually it's coming. That day's coming where you don't have enough in the tank because all you're doing, you're just staying here in your little bubble, and you're just going to get burned out.
There comes a time as a leader. There's a lot of failed businesses out there that had the potential of great success, strictly because a leader got to a point that up in here in his mind he started to think, you know what, is this even worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Is this even worth going for it? You know what? I'm just going to get out now. I'm in a position where if I get out now, at least I don't lose everything. I'm just going to get out now. And that you start to get them thoughts in your mind. I'll admit there's been times I get them thoughts, and I got to really quickly, as quickly as possible, talk to a mentor, talk through that, because when them thoughts start to take hold, they tend to get momentum.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to, and it all starts with the burnout. It all starts with I just cannot take another. I just done. You know what? I'll just go work for someone and just punch a clock, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's where God has called you. But I'm talking someone that had a great organization. Just, you know what? I'm just going to do that. And I want to encourage you that when you make that call, what you could be doing is taking a step away from your God-designed purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do want to make this comment. There are times to let go. There's things that happen in our business and organizations where departments or example, we just had one we had to let go.
Yeah.
Or part of our business that we closed. Yep. And there are times that's necessary but that was for the success of the organization, right? Yep. What I'm referring to is not that. I'm referring to just that thought starts to creep in. If I'm not good enough, I can't handle it, I'm burned out, I'm sick of it. Mm-hmm. I am just sick of it. I'm done. And you get and you let go of a God-designed purpose for your life. And that doesn't mean that you won't come back from it, because there's a lot of great people that do come back from it. Mm-hmm. They kind of get a reset and they realize, you know what, they were where they should have been and they should have stuck with it. But don't lose the opportunity that God has given you. Mm-hmm. Please do not. Just fight through it. Get somebody in your corner that will fight with you. Talk to people about it. There's a lot of help out there if you're willing to go get it.
Yeah.
When you get to this point of burnout.
a 2023 study from the American Institute of Stress found that 61% of leaders cite fear of failure and criticism as a top source of burnout.
There you go.
And so that it's something that 61% right here in this study is saying, hey, I have a fear of failure, criticism, and it's that overthinking that eventually just whittles you down, and you feel like you don't have enough to take one more step. And that's sometimes, some days, that's a lot.
Yeah, there's something you said there. You said the word thinking.
Yeah.
I heard this the other day that it may have been at Summit, one of the leadership things, but it said that a thought and thinking come from two different parts of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts are intrusive. Thinking is in a part is more of a decision making part. It's like this failure, or not failure. Fear comes from a part of where thoughts come from. Mm-hmm. Courage comes from a part of where thinking comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you have fear, that's just a reaction. It's a thought that pops, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure when them thoughts pop, go to a part of the brain and analyze that thought.
Yeah.
Make sure that thought isn't just a reaction, a reactive thing.
Yeah.
Fear is reaction. Courage is decision. Is a decision.
I think like this. I have to put sometimes, and especially with anxiety, because I've battled anxiety myself, and I say it like this. A lot of times I have to put my thoughts on trial.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And so what I mean by that is actually, in your head, having almost like a little courtroom setting. Mm-hmm. Present the evidence, and then make a decision off of that. Is this a justified thing? Do I have the evidence to support this thing will happen? Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, this is something me and you talk about. One of the ways that I've faced failure and anxiety is I go to the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I go 100% down to, like, I'll do it for you. So there are times when I feel like a failure, right, at work, in my leadership and stuff. My thoughts go, well, Clinton's going to find out that I really don't know what I'm doing. And which presents that Clinton's going to fire me, which I'm not going to have a job, which means I'm not going to be able to make any money. My wife's going to leave me. I'm never going to see my kids. I'm going to be homeless, living in a box under a bridge somewhere. And that's where anxiety and fear leads you down this spiraling path. Allow yourself to go there. Allow yourself to in your mind to be sitting in the box, right? As a homeless person living under a bridge. And then ask yourself this question. If all of that happened just the way my mind mapped it out, is Jesus still king? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And does God still love me? And of course the answer is going to be a yes. Well, then it gives me a boost to go, I can take that one more step. Mm-hmm. I can keep going. Mm-hmm. That's not reality. That's just a fabrication that my mind's made up trying to self-preserve me. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little tip, and we're going to get into some more tips here in just a minute. But before we do that, we want to take a break and hear from one more of our sponsors, a great company that provided us a little coffee this morning. They got me hooked up. It's finally summer around here, so I can't drink the hot stuff anymore.
I'm kind of burning up over here, but it's still good.
Oh, it's amazing.
Right.
So there is just something about the first sip of coffee in the morning. It sets the tone for the whole day. And if you're like us, you know that not just any coffee will do.
That's why we start our mornings with Farmhouse Coffee. freshly brewed, handcrafted, and served straight from their coffee truck. Their coffee isn't just a drink, it's an experience.
Whether you need a smooth cup of coffee to ease you into the day, or a bold brew to fuel your hustle, they've got you covered. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just great coffee made fresh every single time.
And the best part, they're always on the move, bringing their amazing coffee to different spots around town.
To find where they are setting up next, check out Farmhouse Coffee's Facebook page. And trust us, once you taste the difference, you'll be tracking them down every single morning.
Farmhouse Coffee, brewed fresh, served with purpose. Yeah, they are a great sponsor. On the back of their cup, I seen this morning. It says, "Be a light, spread joy, work hard, give it your best."
That's it.
That's good.
Now, listen, if you can't go by and get one of their cups of coffee, you just need to write that down on a piece of paper and say it to yourself in the morning.
Be a light.
If you can, go get you a cup.
Yeah. Be a light, spread joy, work hard, give it your best. I like it.
That is awesome. All right. Well, here's the thing. We've walked you through what it is. We've walked through kind of why it happens, some of the effects that it has on the team, and we would be terrible podcast host if we didn't tell you how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the one thing that you never want to do is show someone a problem, not give them a solution. We actually we talk about that all the time, that sometimes you got people in your organization that they can find the problems, baby, but hey, let's find some solutions to it. So we're going to give you some solutions of how not just me and Clinton have walked through this, but some research behind it. So the first thing is, and this is so critical. If you don't hear anything else I'm saying throughout this whole podcast, listen to this. All right? Shift the focus from self to purpose. Okay? Ask yourself, who am I serving today, instead of how do I look? And that's what happens when we get self-conscious. We think, how does this decision make me look? How does my team perceive me?
Yes.
All that stuff. But
I have a quote here that popped in my head. A self-conscious leader asks, how do I look? A self-aware leader will ask, who am I helping? Let me repeat that. A self-conscious leader will say, how do I look? A self-aware leader will say, who am I helping?
Yeah.
And that's that purpose.
Yeah.
Who am I helping is that purpose. They just popped in my head, and I'm like, there's so many times I sit here and ask, well, how will this make me look when I make this decision? I mean, it's just a total mind shift, and it's a total different way of looking at life in general.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose we're talking about.
And I think there's a quote out there, and I can't remember who said it, but it goes, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others, or something to that effect. That's what you have to do. When you're in your head, the best way to get out of your head is to start looking around you and say, who can I serve? Who can I help?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to get outside of me, get out of this old head, and and analyzing everything and thinking I'm not good enough. Well, hey, the fact is you may not have every tool you need in this season. That's where growth comes in. But what you have to do is understand that everyone has the ability to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has that.
That's something that God has designed in us.
Yeah. And so the best way to get out of your head is just, hey, put some action to it. Mm-hmm. Walk up to your team. Hey, man, how can I help you today? How can I serve you? What can I do to make your job easier? Is there anything that I can take off your plate? Mm-hmm. And get in there, get your hands dirty with your team. Mm-hmm. Man, I'm going to tell you what, some of the best value I've ever given to my team is not a quote, or it's not a let me break down the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Like, yes. The best things I've ever done for my team is when I go in there and I see they're in the mud, is I hop in the mud with them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I go, hey, baby, we're in this together. Like this, if this day sucks, well, by golly, it ain't going to be just one of my team in the suck. It's going to be all of us in the suck together.
Yes.
We're going to wrap our arms around it, and we're going to get out of this mud together. Mm-hmm. So, leaders, that's one of the ways you want to get out of your head. Hey, get out of your office and go get in the mud with your team. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I see it happening with, at times, I'm blessed to be able to have an amazing group of leaders around me, like just amazing leaders. God has just blessed me abundantly with this, and I love seeing my team. I'm gonna call one of them out. There was a project that was behind schedule, and it needed to get done. It was one of those things that probably wouldn't get done if, and the people, the team was stressed out about it. They were trying to get there, and I was just told, hey, we got this. And so it was probably, man, we're talking 2 or 3 hours after closing time, probably 8 or 9 o'clock. I get a text from this leader, mm-hmm. and he sends me a photo and says, we got it. And I asked him, well, how did y'all get it done? He said, we all got together. He said, he went a list over what everybody did, and there was 2 different leaders, even from different departments, that weren't even involved with that department, got right into the project with them, got sweaty, got dirty, whatever it took. And what was shocking, how quickly it got done. Truthfully, I didn't think it would get done.
Yeah.
I did not think it would get done, but because that leader decided, no, I'm jumping in the mud. Yep. Let's go get it. Together, we're gonna if nothing else, we're gonna die together on this mountain.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what I think of it like. What's that? Me and my kids are now going through the Avenger movies mm-hmm. and stuff. Well, I say me and my oldest. The little one doesn't care. But it's that sometimes you feel like in I think it's Endgame where Captain America's sitting there with a broken shield, and he just straps his shield up, and he's standing in front of a whole big army, and hey, he's ready to face it down, and then all of a sudden, those little portals open, it's all the Avengers come back, and it's all this great scene. Sometimes that's what your team is feeling. They feel like, hey, I'm gonna strap my shield up and I'm gonna go to battle, but you need to come in and help them. At least put your arm around them, say, hey, listen, if we're going to face this down and this is going to be it, by golly, we're going to do it together.
We're going down together.
That's it. But the next thing I would encourage you guys to do is be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. That is we've talked about it. We've already touched on it a little bit, but man, admitting mistakes, asking for help shows your team it is safe to fail and learn. And we try to talk about this a lot. I know I've had team members that stuff has just, for us, we make metal roofing and trim and stuff like that. There are times that, people make a boneheaded mistake. And my salesman maybe write out a wrong piece of trim or something like that. I always, when they come to me and they're like, hey guys, Cory, we messed up on this piece of trim, or we messed up on this or this order or whatever. we talk about it. We talk about, okay, hey, why did it happen that way? Did we get outside of our procedures of how we did it or how we do things? But then we assign a dollar amount to it. Okay, it was, a $200 mistake. One of the things I try to always ask them is, within reason, obviously, if you have somebody that just continues to make mistakes and things like that, you need to have other conversations. But if it's, hey, one of your go-getters that just make a small mistake, the reason I ask to put I try to put a dollar mark on it is I ask them this statement after the mistake. Did you learn?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I learned. I don't need to do it that way. I need to do it this way. Okay. If you learn, then $200 for you to learn how to not do things is worth that mistake.
Yes.
And it helps them understand that failure is not a detriment to them. It's a learning experience. Yes. Now, obviously,
we're not trying to fail.
We're not trying to learn mistakes that way. We'd love to get it right. But if you go through life thinking that you're never going to fail, when failure hits your face, I'll give you a real life example. Most of you guys know that I coach baseball. Right now, we are going through All-Stars, and it's about to kill me, right? Jeremiah is a very talented ball player, and my son, and he's really never faced adversity. And so when adversity hits him now, he don't know how to handle it. And so we're processing that as we go. So you have to understand that your failure is an opportunity to face adversity and learn how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And failure is such a great teacher. That's basically the behind the scenes of this podcast is us talking about our failures and how we got it wrong, and it's a learning experience. Yeah. So
sometimes I think we should have a pre-podcast because you would hear so much about. A lot of times it turns into kind of a therapy session between us. Yeah. Because we talk about things and we just screwed up on. Yeah. We just screwed up on it, and it's good for us to reflect on those things before we get into this because it makes us realize that, man, we're no better than anybody else at this.
Yeah.
I mean, we screw up a lot. We screw up a lot, and but the key, I think, the difference is in a great leader is one that's willing to admit that. It's kind of like vulnerability. A lot of people view vulnerability as kind of a weakness. Yeah. They view it as a weakness, but I honestly believe that vulnerability is probably one of the greatest measurements of courage that you can have. Mm-hmm. It takes courage to be vulnerable. I just do. I just believe that.
100%. It's not what we're framed up to do anymore.
Nope. It is not.
So be vulnerable with your team, and you're going to see that self-consciousness fall off. The next thing, and this goes right into what I was really talking about, is reframing failure as feedback. Mm-hmm. Seeing those mistakes as opportunities and lessons, and they're not identifying. So they don't your teammate or your team makes a mistake or you make a mistake. It's a opportunity for a lesson. It's not who you are. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like that's so big. Is a lot of times when we have failures, we label ourselves as that. Mm-hmm. But it's not that. It's a lesson. It's an opportunity for you to grow. Think of your failures as that, not as who you are.
Yeah, there's a stat line from the Center of Creative Leadership back in 2023 that says 78% of high-performing leaders report that learning from failure is a key to growth.
100%.
So it's exactly what you just said. I mean, that's 78% of high-performing leaders. That's pretty high there. That's a big number.
Yep.
It's a big number. And Grandpa always says, man, learn from your failures. Yeah. And you're like, growing up, I used to be like, man, but I hate failing.
Yeah.
And again, we're not painting a picture here that we go seek out failure.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if you wake up in the morning and you take a breath, you are you're the walking definition of someone that will fail at something.
Yeah.
You're going to fail at something. If you take a breath, if you're a human being, you're going to fail at something. You're going to make a bonehead call. You're going to make a bonehead decision. And there's two paths that people take when that happens. And I've been on both, so I've got experience.
Real
in this
experience.
One. When that failure hits, you can get bogged down. You can take this path, and you get so bogged down in the fact of I'm not worth it. And you get that self-conscious thing, or you can say, okay, what you do with your team. Okay, I screwed up. First, I'm going to admit I screwed up. Now, let's take this lesson. How much? How much did it cost us? All these things, and well, I went through. I paid for some college today. You could say the college of life, and it cost me this. And I just got a degree in how not to do it next time.
Yeah,
that's really it.
Yeah,
look at it that way. And I have a full-on degree in that.
Yeah, yeah. If you hang around long enough, you'll understand that I have some very expensive mistakes in my day. But I've often said the more expensive the mistake, the more apt you are to catch it.
Yes. Next time, yes. You don't want to go down that same path.
Yeah.
You won't go down that same path.
Failure is painful for a reason.
Yep.
But the next thing, and this goes right into how in the beginning we talked about self-consciousness and self-awareness. You have to build self-awareness. And so the self-awareness is the tilling of the ground for growth. And so for you to see, hey, I have areas in my life where I need to grow. And so some of the ways that you can do that is journaling. I'm personally not a big journaler, but there are times when I have certain situations, I write things down. And I write down like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I'm doing like that. Just writing those things down, even though you may never read them again, or you may never, I've heard people say that, after a loss of a family member or something, write them a letter or something like that, and then burn it. You could do the same thing. Write out what you're struggling with, what you need to grow, create a plan through your journaling, and, hey, follow that plan. Or if you don't want to read it again, it's too painful, don't read it again. You don't have to. But just the act of getting your thoughts down on paper is so powerful.
Oh, it is. I started something recently it's kind of been fun. I've been I've taken a minimum of a chapter a day in a book. That's something that I've started to do just to make sure that I get my reading in. Because sometimes if I don't, I'll go a week or so and I haven't read, because I believe we say it all the time, great leaders are readers. That's just the bottom line. So what I started doing is I'll take a passage or a chapter of a book, and I'll read it. And in the end of that chapter, there's always a space to write a little bit in the book. And because when you're reading these books, especially about leadership and things like that, you quickly identify things in your life that you need to work on. So I started writing in there, out of this chapter, what are the areas that stood out to me that popped areas of growth that I need to grow in. And I'll write them down. And what I've realized is, in the moment of real life situations, I believe that because I wrote them down, they're stuck more into a part of my brain, and they pop in situations, real life situations. I'll be like, oh, hey, you remember that? I remember that thing I wrote in the book. So I'm going to lead this way in this situation.
Yeah.
So it also is about when you write these things down, when you journal, it creates this, I guess you could say, you're able to remember them a lot easier.
Yeah.
You're able to go to them places a lot easier instead of it just becomes a passing thought and you forget it.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah,
writing it down in the book. The next thing, mentorship. Man, seek it out. If you don't have somebody that's helping you with things, find that person. There are plenty of people. Hey, and oftentimes self-conscious leaders, they are intimidated by that fact. of like seeking or asking for someone. But you got to realize that true leaders are people that are willing to mentor you, would love to do it.
Oh yes, 100%.
There are tons of people I know. There's people that I like help hold accountable to certain things and stuff like that. It's an honor for them to ask me that. And so the person you're thinking of in your mind right now of like, man, I'd love to have them mentor me, probably looks at it the same way as, oh man, that would be an honor to help mentor you. But it takes courage to ask them. The best way that I've found to do that is, hey, reach out to them. Say, hey, can we go get a cup of coffee or something? Yeah.
You can ask them this too. Is it just would it be crazy?
Yeah, you can do that.
Would it be crazy for me to ask you a question? Would you mentor me?
Yeah.
When you say it like that, you're just kind of putting it in a different form, and they're like, no, this ain't crazy. No, you're not crazy. Because all of us need it. I believe that mentorship, coaching, and things like that is what has created a stable foundation in our organization.
Yeah, 100%.
I truly believe that, because I look back at the day when I, as a leader, decided that it's time for Clinton to grow. It's time for Clinton to get out of this muck and learn how to be a better leader, was when the organization took a big step forward.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you as a leader do not have a mentor, you're setting yourself up to fail. I believe it wholeheartedly. You're setting yourself up for a big failure, because you'll be shocked how many, that thought that always creeps in your mind, I'm the only one facing this. No one else has ever faced this in in their life. That lie that the devil puts there.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that? That most times if you ask every human being on earth, they'll tell you and say, well, I thought I was the only one that faced that same thing.
That's one of the coolest statements that I love hearing, is when somebody says, well, and it happens to me all the time. When we were at Summit, I think Ken Coleman's talk.
Yes.
Like I had that thought pop in my mind. Like, I thought I was the only one dealing with this, and one of my heroes is dealing with the same thing, and I'm like, man,
yes,
that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
That I'm not the only one stuck in this little pit.
Yeah.
But sometimes our human nature is we want to be the only one in the pit.
Yeah.
And we want to have this, woe is me.
It's kind of a pride. It really is a pride thing. It's crazy, but it really is a pride thing.
Yeah. It's like I'm pioneering this failure. That I'm a trailblazer for failure. But find you a mentor, find someone that can pour into you. You can talk about situations that you don't talk to anybody else about what your true self is saying, and that person's going to help you walk through that. And but the next thing, and this is something that's so powerful, I used to have a little thing that I would say every morning. I don't do it as much, and I probably need to get back to it as much, but it's an affirmation statement. So it's a daily reminder of your purpose and your strength. And so it may look like you having a little piece of paper or a sticky note that you put on your bathroom mirror, or something that you see every single morning that reminds you who you are, what your purpose is, and what your strength is. And so, mine had a lot of biblical statements in it. And, I would say things like, today I give the Holy Spirit the authority to use every gift he so chooses. Today I am the lender, not the borrower. I am the head, not the tail. And that the gifts of God the gifts of God are not null and void in my life, that he has me here for a purpose. And so saying little things like that is so important, because it just, you wake up, you see who you are called to be, and you're already mentally telling your brain, hey, we're not just going to let our mind shift the way the wind blows. Here's where we're going today. It sets the tone. And so I would encourage you, figure out what that affirmation statement is for you, and write it down, put it somewhere where you can see it, and that way you can set the tone for the morning of who you're going to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like it. I look in the mirror and say, I am good enough.
Yeah. It can be as short
powerful.
as that.
I am good enough.
Yep.
I will be great today.
Yep.
You know, things like that. It does a big, I mean, there's moments that, and the times you need to do that the most is when you're feeling the most self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that's the times that you need to just look at, and some people say, well, that's a form of pride. No, that's not what we're saying. It's not a form of pride. It's not saying that I'm better than anybody. We live in our subconscious, we have two things going on. We have the devil is trying to tell you you're not, and that voice sometimes gets so loud that we can't hear anything else. Mm-hmm. And by telling yourself that you are is a big counter to that.
Yeah. And
it just does something, and it seems like them voices start to get quieter and quieter when you do that.
Yeah, so 100%. The last thing I would tell you on being more self-aware is take some small risk. Little things. Take one step each week outside of your comfort zone. Try something new. You know
what's fun? We were talking about that this morning.
Yeah, 100%.
We were talking about we're looking at sales growth, saying that let's start taking every week. Let's do one small thing.
Yep. Just little small steps, trying something different.
Yep, trying something different.
But listen, is this easy? No. Are you going to wake up one morning after trying all this stuff and doing it for a month, and all of a sudden the sun's going to be shining, the birds are, tweeting outside your window, and you're walking to the office like Snow White? Okay? No. You're going to have bad days. Right.
And this journey, this is something that never ends.
No.
This what we're talking about is something that if you think you're going to overcome it and it just goes away, man, that's not what we're trying to portray, because that's not the truth. You will always deal with this throughout the stages of your life. There's going to be things that are going to come that you didn't expect, and it's going to cause you to fall kind of into that self-conscious mindset. And so just that you're aware, that listeners, that you're aware that this is not a one-time fix-all.
Yeah.
This is a journey. This is part of your leadership journey.
Yep.
It's a battle you have to face every day. It's a battle you have to wake up to every day. So just remember that. We're not wanting to put it out there that you do these things and, oh, here we go, we got rainbows and unicorns the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not happened. So we've framed up what self-conscious leadership is. We've talked about why it happens. We've kind of said, hey, here's how it affects. And now we've kind of given you some tools to kind of overcome it. But here's the next thing we want to be cautious to, or kind of bring up. This is not something that we just read and we're like, oh, that'd be a really good podcast. This is something we lived. And so what we want to do is kind of take a minute before we close out and talk about some of our experiences with leadership. So, Clinton, if you want to go first, is there a experience where self-conscious leadership kind of capped you and kept you in a place, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. I look back over the years of my business journey, and probably the one that stands out the most, I would say. So back in, I'm going to say 2017, 18, somewhere in there. I don't have the exact date. Yoder Metal was a company that was doing about, they were very small. Honestly, the Yoder Metal was in a old horse barn is what we ran it out of. And there was equipment that we had bought originally, because we had at the time we really didn't have, when we first started back in 2010, we really didn't have the intention of it becoming what it is today. It was more of just to help support Yoders Woodworks, the business that does the tiny homes and the storage sheds and things like that, to cut down on product cost and things of that nature. We use a lot of that. What Yoder Metal produces, we use a lot of that in this industry. And so me and my father, when we started, we had a guy that had helped us get the equipment. Amazing guy. We wouldn't be where we are today without what he did, and I'll be forever grateful for what he did for us. But time went on from 2010 up to about 2000. I think it was about 2015, and we went ahead and purchased another used. It was a big purchase back then. I mean, this was hundreds of $1,000s purchase.
Yeah.
Well, probably about $100,000 purchase. Let's go with that. It was a used piece of equipment. It was, and we used it for a couple years, and there was when in our industry, when you get used equipment, it's most times used.
Yeah.
It ain't something that, they wear it down. And we started having complaints that the product that it was producing wasn't at the highest quality we wanted, and so we were like, let's go ahead and just look about purchasing a new one, right? And we contacted the company that makes this, and we're like, yeah, could we get a quote on this? And I remember we're just excited, we're going to do this thing, and all of a sudden we get an email back, and I open this email, and I'm like, no, we're just not. We can't. If we do this, we're done. There's no way that we can take this step. If we take this step, we're failing. There's just no way. What are we even doing? And then the thoughts started to creep in. Well, we got customers that ain't happy. This thing's just, we're done. This whole thing's failing because we can't do that. That's dumb to make that purchase. We're talking hundreds of thousands, not just 100,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I remember telling my father, I was like, maybe we should just give up on this thing. This is not going to work. The payments, we can't even afford the payments. There's no way. There's no absolute way. And so we kept going with what we had. Business started getting slower. We started hearing more complaints. We started having people talk about that the products, they're quitting buying from us. And I couldn't blame them. But there's no way. We're a failure. And that thought started creeping in my mind. All the hard work we put in, we're just done. So moving forward in 2017, I had come out of another failure of business at that point, and the business that just went belly up basically. And I stepped back into the Yoder Metal business a little bit more. And I remember the conversation I had with my dad one night. We were sitting on the couch, and I just looked at him and said, Dad, what if we took the chance? What if we just did it? What if we just went ahead and, looking back then, it was shoot for the moon. And just make that purchase. Just do it. Have no clue how we're going to make it. Have no clue if it's going to work. But what if we would just? And that conversation started to escalate more and more and more. And it finally got to a point we said, let's try it. Let's just do it. What else are we going to do? We're at the point where if we don't make this purchase of this piece of equipment, we're probably going to fail anyway. So why not fail big?
Yeah.
And I remember being scared to death. The fear of fail, or the fear just was overwhelming when we purchased it. But Cory, we are today, because of that purchase, because we went ahead and made that call and got out of our mind, got out of that self-conscious thing of fail, and got to a point of, I don't even really care what people think. And if we fail with this, so be it, but we're going to fail big. Let's do this. Today we do about 400 to 500 times the amount of product that we did back then. We're in a new facility. We have a massive, a way bigger team. We've been able to help people around the world because of it. And it all came back to getting out of our head and getting out of the mindset of failure and saying, no, we are stepping into courage. We're taking self-doubt and fear, and we're transferring it over to courage, and we're going to step into the battle, and whatever comes. But we're gonna, like we said, we're gonna die together on top of this mountain if we die. And today, I would say we've placed a stake, our flag, on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
But it comes all the way back from a decision that transferred from fear to courage. And I know that's not everybody has decisions like that. Not everybody. Not every self-conscious thing's about a purchase and things like that. But I'm thinking back. I'll just say this today: if that decision wasn't made back then, me and you wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah, 100%.
We would not be sitting here today. I wouldn't probably know you.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, at the end of the day, we don't understand when we don't see the future. All we can do again is transfer our fears into courage, and step forward, take another step forward, take another step forward, take another step forward. And that's where beauty is formed. That's where something comes out of, something is created that you never imagined. I never imagined Yoder Metal would be where it is today.
Yeah.
And well, you know what that does for me now? That excites me and fires me up for what it's going to look like in 10 years.
Yep.
And that also helps me today. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, we just recently made another step of faith.
Yeah.
A big step of faith. And a new software system that's getting placed is another big step of faith. But it comes back all the way back from that one moment that we said, no, we're going to take courage over fear, and we're stepping into it. And so anybody out there today, if you're in the moment of trying to decide, always veer toward courage. Now, there's things out there, you can make bonehead calls. I'm not talking about that. But if you're in just a state of fear, take the step of courage, and I believe you'll look back in 10 years and be like, thank God we did that.
Yep, 100%.
I don't know if that was
I think that's
helpful.
a perfect story to cap this thing. And so here's what we want to leave you with. I got a little bit of a challenge today for you listeners. This week, pick one small risk. Could be share an idea. It could be delegate a task, ask for feedback, but pick one small risk and go with it. Mm-hmm. Take a little step into courage, like Clinton said, and go with it. Mm-hmm. And wait to see the ripple effects of what that one small risk. Listen, you may fall flat on your face. I'm not going to sit here and say that you won't. I think that's not wise of me to sit there and say that, oh, you're going to do this and it's going to turn out exactly the way you thought. You may fall on your face, but there's a lesson to be learned in that.
Yep. And there's one fact with that if you don't take that step, you'll be right where you are.
Yep.
That's a guarantee. I can guarantee you one thing, that if you do not take that step, you're going to be right where you are. And honestly, most times what happens, a mudslide comes and you slip further back.
Yep.
Take the step forward, and I promise you will never regret it. You know, when you get old and you're sitting on that recliner or you're sitting on the front porch in that rocking chair, you look back at your life, would you rather sit here and say, man, I remember that time when I took that step and I fell flat on my face, or would you rather sit there and say, man, I wish I would have took that step? Imagine what would have happened. I know for me, I want to be on the rocking chair saying, you're telling my grandkids or whatever, if God blesses me to live that long and blesses me with grandkids, I want to look at them and say, hey, there was a time when Grandpa just straight screwed up.
Yeah.
And this is what I did. I would rather that than look at him and say, man, I wish that I would have took a step back then, and today we would maybe be in a whole different position than we are today.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to have regrets.
That's it.
I don't want to have regrets.
Don't live your life with regrets.
So
I just want to remind you this. Being a confident leader isn't about knowing everything. It's about leading with a purpose, embracing growth, and serving your team well.
Amen.
That you do those things, and I promise you, the self-consciousness, that voice inside your head, is going to get so quiet.
Yes, absolutely.
It's because you're You're too focused on what's going on outside of you to be hearing what's going on inside of you.
Absolutely.
So,
yep. And I got a verse that I want to tie all this up with. 1 Timothy 1:7. Or 2 Timothy, sorry, my bad. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has given us this, has not given." Let me stop there and let me repeat this. 2 Timothy 1:7. "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." If you have fear, if you're self-conscious, you don't know what to do, remember that fear is not of God. He says he does not give us a spirit of fear. Mm-hmm. That's from the other side. That's not from God. He gives us a spirit of power, a spirit of love, of a sound mind. If you feel like things are crazy up here, it's not of God. Mm-mm. He gives us a sound mind. And what's so beautiful about that, you have an opportunity to call on him and say, "God, I'm living in a state of fear right now, and I know that's not of you. Give me power. Give me a sound mind. Give me love for the people around me." And it'll change everything. In the midst, if you're going through an absolute failure right now, and you ask God for that failure will look so much different than it does right now.
100%.
If you view it from the eyes of God, it changes everything. If you view your self-consciousness through the eyes of God, it changes everything. So stop living a life of "I'm not good enough." Stop living a life that "I'm not worth it." Stop living. These are lies. Stop. And remember that you have a God that loves you more than you ever can comprehend, and that wants to give you wisdom, that wants to give you power, that wants to give you strength. But we have to be willing to lay ourselves down and say, "God, I'm your vessel. I'm your servant. Use me for how you want me to use me." And he will give you something that it'll blow you away. And I encourage you, Cory, an encouragement to myself and the listeners, that today, moving forward in the next week, the month, the year ahead, there's a lot of uncertainty in this world. There's a lot of things that have created a lot of self-doubt and, self-consciousness. Let's choose self-awareness. Let's choose growth. And let's choose to step forward, knowing that God has a purpose for us and a reason that we're on this earth. And if we do that, I believe we change lives, we change our community, we change the country we live in, and ultimately we change the world. But what's most beautiful, we change that one life, that one person that may end up being someone that changes the world. Step forward in faith, knowing that you are amazing and that you are worth it, because you are. I don't have much more, Cory.
I think we got it covered today.
I think we do.
Yep.
So remember this. You're here for a reason, and to always, no matter what, make sure that you lead with a purpose. We love you, we care about you, and we truly hope that you are successful, and we truly hope that you become the best version of who God intended you to be. We love you. Peace out. Guys, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Yoders Talk today. We hope that you heard something that you can apply to your life and make your life better and a more positive impact on those around you.
If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, and please share to others. You can also find our content on Spotify, Facebook, and TikTok.
We're excited also to bring you some new merch this season. Click the link below and you can go there and find you some awesome, great quality t-shirts, hats, hoodies, whatever you see there, and hopefully you can truly enjoy that. But without further ado, I want to leave this with you. Always lead with a purpose. God bless you.